Problem with updating OBS is that it resets a lot of your sound settings when it's not supposed to. Hi, hello, and welcome to another One Lion of Code. I am One Lion, and this is Batman. You are probably one of the first people here because not many people, because daylight savings happened, at least in Denver, Colorado. We observe daylight savings. Is that what you call it? And so it happened over the weekend. I don't know if it takes standard Windows settings, but like what happened was when I was in OBS just now and I went into my audio, this one showed that it was not available, or it had the little red text thingy. So I had to go through and choose my default input, microphone input. So I have no idea. But that happens every time that I update OBS. What am I up to today? Today I am up to about 5'7". Simple's stream crashed, but I've been lurking on his channel since he started streaming this morning. Morning for me, afternoon for him, I think. And let's see, I need to move stuff off of my screen. So for my work project, I was working on adding a new field to our telemetry records and finding out a good way to have this field exist. And I was talking about it with my project manager, who of course hates it because it's not the route that he would have went. Not really hates it, he likes it. It's just not implemented exactly the way that he would implement it, and therefore it's wrong. Like, it covers all the bases, it's maintainable, at least in my opinion, and whatever. So today we're planning on, for the stream project, we're planning on finishing up this research piece that we're doing regarding the issue that happens when you run the application with WPF or even Maui, and you expand a combo box that is rendered via HTML. And this is, I'm pretty sure this will happen in any WPF project, not just mine, but where you expand the box and then you move the window around, the expanded drop-down would normally stay in place. But now what I did is anytime that you change the location of the window, which includes expanding, restoring, resizing, which already happened, or dragging it around, the drop-down will collapse. And that uses JavaScript. The thing that's happening though is, if you can see down here, for every single event that gets raised for LocationChanged, we're also firing the JavaScript. So yes, exactly that. And hello Mojo. So what I would like to do is add a debounce so that it only does it maybe once per drag, if that's a thing, or maybe just once with a timeout of something like, I don't know, 200 milliseconds. Does on drag start exist? Good question. Plenty of stuff to look up. Real quick though, this is how it does it. The JavaScript is an object registered to window that has a function as one of its properties called collapse select list that finds the current select list that has focus and then blurs it and refocuses it. And that's it. That's all it does. And that gets called in the UIState callback. No, sorry. The UIState callback fires collapse select lists when the screen is moved, which then gets fired in main layout razor.cs main layout.razor.cs, which is sitting right here. Do you see it? I see it. So my go to file has not been working, except it just did. Okay, so that happens in here. And that's where it does this thing. So this is where we want to add a debounce. And so the way that I'm going to create this debounce is by adding a system.timers.timer. And because I don't want it to be confused by task.timers versus system.timers, I'm going to alias it using timer equals system.timers.timer. And I'm going to create a... Wait, really? You're okay with this? What about task.timers? It's gonna hate me. I just know it's gonna hate me. And the reason that I want to do it this way is so that I don't have to do any extra logic. I don't know. Because like Scott's suggestion is look for a drag start on drag action. No, I need events overrides. On drag enter. So on drag enter and leave, I believe, is when you're dragging files and stuff onto the window. I don't think that this is dragging the window around. And that's why LocationChanged is the one that I'm using. On manipulation. Where are the docs? WPF on manipulation started. See what the docs say about it. Called when the manipulation started event happens. Thanks. Has no default implementation. Override it. I'm trying to get back to chat. Here we go. Make sure to call base.onManipulation started when you do it. Occurs when an input device begins a manipulation on the UI element object. Get the element that the manipulation by using manipulation container. Get the origin, cancel the manipulation. Yeah, I have no idea what a manipulation is. It could probably mean anything. Like you're changing colors, or you are resizing, or you are... It sounds like it would be too many events. But I'll leave it there just in case, and we'll find out. That's preview drag enter, preview drop. There's touch move. Like one thing that would be really nice to do is if I could detect a handle mouse down on the title bar and mouse up on the title bar. Because when you do mouse down, you can set a flag that says moving equals true. How about this then? Full moving. Oops. Local field. Private. I don't know what's going on with that. Come on. Okay, so we have a Boolean flag that will tell us when we're moving, and our debounce is actually going to be the thing that turns us off. So what that means is as soon as we start moving, so if not moving, no, if moving, then we do nothing because we've already done this once. Otherwise, moving equals true. And in every case, we'll restart the timer. So here's our timer, private timer. And which timer are you? Are you going to be system.threading.timer? This is why I wanted to alias system.timers.timer. What timer? Collapse debounce. We'll make a new timer. That timer will have a interval of, like if you stop moving for, let's say 200 milliseconds, even if you're still in drag mode, generally when you move a window around, you move it and then you stop when you're done moving it. Or I guess, yeah, like with me with the trackball, I move it, but it's like more than 200 milliseconds between pauses as I move my thumb over it. And then when I get to this location where I'm close to the top, then I'm kind of like moving the window around little by little until I hit exactly the point that I'm trying to get to, kind of thing, you know? So anyway, 200 milliseconds should be good. Auto reset, true. Okay, then on initialize, dot elapsed plus gets our handler, handle debounce timeout. That is just going to set moving equal to false. And then stop the timer. Which is called collapse debounce. Actually, stop and then moving, false. Okay, and that way, here we can do, in all cases, stop the timer to reset it and then start it. I'm pretty sure that's what auto reset does, is when you push stop, it resets back to 0 automatically. Oh, nope. Auto reset means that it will run through until the event happens, and then if auto reset is true, it'll automatically restart the timer back to 0 and then run through and make it happen again. So it's kind of like infinite loop, is what that sounds like to me. I could be wrong, but it sounds like that to me. I didn't mean to move that. Stay there. Okay, and what this should do then is, instead of handling the collapse happening every single time we move the window, it should only happen when we first start moving the window, and then when we have a pause of more than 200 milliseconds between moves. And I'm gonna get rid of location. Well, I'll leave it there for now. But we'll get rid of the location changed one just so we can see it happening. So we'll first make sure that this thing will in fact collapse still as we move. Yeah, and because I added this, it didn't get initialized because the initialize didn't actually happen during this session. Read only. This is true. And because I am subscribing to an event on Collapse Timer, we should dissubscribe from it and stop any of the actions that are happening because of the timer. So underscore, or I guess stop the timer first. So we know that the timer will not be null. Do you have a is running? Why isn't my R key working suddenly? Who stole my R key? There you are. Wait, it's my shift button that seems to be stuck. What? I can't push shift in any buttons. What? Anyway, let's try to stop this thing. That means that I can't use parentheses either. What is going on? I might have to close and reopen Visual Studio. But point is, we do that, and then we eventually dispose of the timer. Control S is not going to save. Okay, so as we watch our output, we should see much, much fewer collapsing debounce, handling collapse. Yeah. So did we at least see one? Handling collapse happened here. Collapsing the list, collapsing the list, collapsing the list. Perfect. Okay. So UIState. It's not UIState. Who is doing collapsing the lists? App.razor. Which we don't need. Excuse me. Okay, expanded. Okay, so there it is. Handling collapse happened once. And only once during that entire set of moves. So the last thing I want to get rid of is this location changed, which should be in main. I think I was putting it in app.raise. Oh. Interesting. Maybe that is where I want to put it. Anyway, we'll find out in a second. No more location change debug. And now what we should get, is when we are all the way down, get handling collapse once, stop for 200 milliseconds, handling collapse again. Did you see that? That was exactly 200 milliseconds. Oh, let's count up a number in a non-thread safe way, apparently. Do you think resize begin would also handle dragging the window around? Okay. I don't have a resize begin on window. Don't have anything to do with resize. Main window.saml. There is a resize mode. Hey, my shift key works again. The events that we can get here are F4. Are here. That was hard to find. Activated, content rendered, DPI changed. Yeah, that would be nice. Size changed, but that's past tense, which would mean that it happens after the size changes. So if there was a size changing and a size changed, that would make sense. But I'm not seeing anything on window that looks to be equivalent to the former resize changed. And it's kind of weird that it's not showing that I have a listener for location change when I'm, well, I guess I am doing it at runtime, setting up the listener. Get rid of change count. Let's move change count over into main layout.razor so that we can see just how many times this thing gets called. Oops. Just to see if the normal amount of time that is spent moving a window around matters all that much, or if it's negligible. Yeah, that was one of the things that I wanted to definitely test is as the app is starting up and I'm already moving the window around, is that going to break stuff? It does not break stuff. But there was handling collapse a few times. So yeah, it's definitely the normal amount of time that I spend in between moving the window around is enough time for the timer to reset. Yeah. So for every single time that I swipe my mouse ball, it's plenty of time for the thing to reset. But it doesn't seem to be hindering performance, especially since we are picking only one select list and returning immediately if that select list, like we're picking the select element that has focus and returning immediately if there are no select elements that have focus. But just to be safe, we can up this to like a half second, which I want to know if that is fast enough to click this, drag, click. Let's move you closer to the top. Click, drag, click. I have to have better aim than this though. Yeah. Oh, you know what would work? Yep, I know it. Okay, so we set the focus back to the select, which means that I can expand it using the keyboard. And there is an instance of me being able to expand it and move the window faster than the timer has to count down, which would be another reason to try to find a way to use something like resize begin, resize end. And call it. Yeah, 200 milliseconds. Gosh, I have terrible aim. Expand, expand, expand. Yeah, so 200 milliseconds is still a lot. And then 20 milliseconds is too short, because 20 milliseconds is still going to be calling it. I don't know. It's not terrible. 20 milliseconds is fine for me. Like for what we're using it for. Because like, I don't anticipate the window being moved around a ton. Like the user will move the window, size it to the size that they want, use the app, maybe go into settings, change the, or click on the drop down for choosing the theme, and maybe move the window before changing the theme, and then click on the new theme. I just don't anticipate there being an issue with a user that's going to be expanding the combo box, moving the window, expanding, and just doing this to purposefully try to break the app. I mean, I wouldn't put it past our testers to do it. But yeah, it doesn't seem to be terribly bad when you're just moving the window around to get it where you want on the screen. Even sizing, that's not terrible. I had 2 extra calls there. So I'm gonna go with that for my work product. I think it's gonna work for what we need it to. Yeah, and Tyron is saying, why not just go ahead and call it one more time? At the end. It's because I don't know when they've stopped moving the window. And so Scott was trying to recommend detect when they start moving the window and detect when they stop moving the window. That way, when they start moving the window, you set your moving flag to true. When they stop moving the window, you set it to false via events, which is fine, but we don't really have a way to do that. From what we saw as far as the events that Windows. Grief. Why are you being so laggy? I'm gonna close and restart Visual Studio because I'm memory drained. Sorry, Jeremiah is texting me, messaging me. Yeah, so I'm looking for an event that would happen on the window control, most likely the window control. That would tell me that we have started dragging the window around. And I think that might be this manipulation started and manipulation stopped. I guess we can find out. There's no harm in finding out. Except that I didn't reopen the app. Right, because I wanted to see my task manager to see if there's something else that's eating up my RAM and or processor. Anti-malware. Dropbox. There we go. Java platform binary. From what app? Who owns you? Java.exe is running and it's taking up 2 gigs of RAM. How do I know what process started you? I got Teams open. I got Crisp open. OneNote, NVIDIA Experience, Steam. I exit Steam. Will you go away? I'm going to see if this breaks the stream, but I'm just going to end task on that Java process. I want my RAM back. I can't end task on it. Oh, because it's... No, I can't end task on it. End task. Okay, I got my RAM back. Now it's running even slower. Oh no. Oh no. Okay. Yes. Yes, we are good to go. Anyone else wanna try eating 2 gigs of RAM for something that I'm not actively using? You know, I think I know what it was. It was probably my Lineage 2 server. I hope it wasn't in use. Does this seem useful? Let's find out. I have no problems checking. No, it's not useful because this is using Maui. Where's the rest of it? I'm kidding. It's still main window, which should be fine, but yeah, so I will be using Maui, but my work product still uses WPF, so we're currently testing this all in WPF. But pointer pressed is fine, but that also means that I need to detect when the pointer is pressed in the title bar, and right now, like, it'll be easy on my work product since I have a themed window that says replace the whole title bar, use window Chrome, here's the custom title bar that I want you to use. So when the user does mouse down on the title bar, I'll be able to detect that because that is a border control. And I'll say, is the user, actually the title bar itself is a stack panel. So is the user mouse down on stack panel, and then is the user mouse up on stack panel. So maybe that'll be how I do that one. But this one, because it's just using the standard WPF window that we get for free, which I never actually restarted Visual Studio, it'll be a little bit more difficult to do. Okay, so here's another suggestion. That is on mouse down. Yeah, so this is for redoing the window move functionality, which is cool. The question is, does the window actually get it? So now that we're back in here, let's find out two things. Let's do the on mouse down in main window.xaml.cs. We'll do base on mouse down, and we will do get UIState collapse lists once. And so what I don't want to happen is for this to happen every single time I click on an element in the Blazor control. But everything else is fair game. So as long as clicking on my Blazor web view control content doesn't cause this to happen, then this is an even better way to do it, because this is a fire once kind of thing. Yeah, I don't even have to have the moving thing, the moving flag set and a timer. This would be really nice if it works. So Scott gets a star for the day. If not, Scott is still cool. Especially for offering these suggestions. Okay. It didn't fire. Mouse down didn't fire when I clicked in the title bar. And I mean, it's good that it didn't fire when I'm in the app, but it didn't fire when I'm in the title bar. And the problem is that this is all non-client area by default. So there, if I was using window Chrome, that would most likely work, because that gets rid of all of the non-client stuff. Well, not all of it. I mean, it's still there. It's just collapsed very, very tiny. So I still want to know what this manipulation one is. On manipulation started. Rebuild. Okay, and then we have this to look at as well. Ooh, super tiny. I mean, if we didn't even get the on mouse move. If we're gonna do mouse move anyway, which I'm assuming gets called as often, we may as well use location changed. And not only that, but this would get fired every single time that I move the mouse around and have to do this if check to see if we're holding a mouse button down. Yeah, let's see when manipulation happens. I need the output window. Porfa. Yeah, so moving the window around isn't a manipulation. Kind of weird that resizing isn't a manipulation either. But that is a good question. Like, do we even see when the mouse moves in the title bar at all? Oh, drag move? Mouse move. Yeah, and yeah. So I think that this would call, you know what, that might not even work anyway. And the reason that this one might not work is, yeah, we're not filling up with with mouse moves, even though I'm moving the mouse around in the title bar. But even if it did, mouse would move, and then if I left click and I move the mouse is not moving in the title bar. The mouse is staying in place relative to the title bar, so there wouldn't be a mouse move event happening. But that's okay. That's okay. We did come up with an solution. It's not great. I don't mind if you have other suggestions for detecting, like the thing that ChatGPT would answer is, we want to detect when a user starts dragging a WPF window. In .NET 6. And because ChatGPT has year-old data, might not be able to find current stuff, even though it shouldn't have changed that much between .NET 5 and .NET 6. But for now, we do kind of have a solution that I'm okay with. Well, I mean, the thing in ChatGPT says that the information is, I don't know where it is. I spelled that wrong. Anyway, there's something in here that says how current the information is, and I just remember reading something about a year old and might not necessarily be up to date kind of thing. Your session has expired. But when you combine ChatGPT with Bing, my knowledge cutoff is September 2021. And I honestly don't remember when .NET 6 came out, but might have been after that, October, November 2021. Might have been last year. I don't know anything. What am I looking for? WPF window detect drag start. I'll just ask it like a question. How do I detect when a WPF window starts moving? That's a terrible way to ask this question. Determining when a WPF window is being moved. Although I said we're going to ask ChatGPT, which apparently is not available for me anymore. I'm not an Edge. I thought I was an Edge. Yeah, so on mouse down, find out if we're in the title bar. I mean, we could do it that way. Except, yeah, the problem is we're still not getting the event firing excuse me, at all for on mouse down. It scared me. What? Scott. Okay, give me a curly brace. Give me another. What did I do? Oh, okay. Excuse me. And now I have cough sounds to make. On mouse left button down. Override. On mouse left button down. We'll do this before we send it to base. Okay. Debug. Right line, mouse down in title bar. Keep your eye on the debug window. Nada. And it could just be that I'm doing the event wrong, so we'll do it this way instead. We will hook it up using the UI instead of just doing override. Yeah, I think drag move is when you do something like take something from outside of the window and move it over the window itself. But I could be wrong. I could be very wrong. This is WPF we're talking about, and I know nothing. I was going to go to the main window.xaml. Oh, okay. Yeah, in this case, I was just seeing if we entered the event at all. But this is where we can say event on mouse left button down. Give me a new handler. Here's your body. Yeah, so what I'm expecting to happen is because we're detecting, actually just in general, without the if statement, because we're checking for or listening for any mouse left button down clicks, I'm expecting to see debug.writeLine. but that isn't happening in any of these cases. Wait, where are you calling every time now? What happened to my debounce? Is it because I made it 20 milliseconds? I think it's because I made it 20 milliseconds. Oh, right. It's not going to update while I'm running because it's not reinitializing. Hello, Juan Van. If the condition is true, we call the drag move method on the window to initiate the dragging operation. Yeah, that's if you're recreating your own drag functionality because you replaced the Windows caption bar. And this is calling into the window API. And I'm trying to avoid doing that. Yeah, window.location is the one that I found most people suggesting. And this happens when a drag move is called. You know, what information do we get with our window location changed? Nothing. Are you for real? He is empty. He can't be empty. He is empty. He is in nothing. You don't get any information about the move. You just know that the location changed. That would be crazy, but what about here then? No. What do you mean by that? One. Unless you're talking about Blazor United. Which case, super excited about it. Oh, I don't know what unions are in F# then. Or Rust. I would need some more information. But I mean, the short answer is no then. I hadn't been paying attention to that news. Like, I know unions when it comes to collections, but I'm not sure if that's what you mean. Yeah, I'm just gonna call this good. I'm gonna drop it. I'm gonna try to drop it at least. I hadn't checked any of this in, have I? Which would be a good thing. Because this doesn't belong in the remove magic strings branch. Let me make sure that I didn't actually do anything with resources. .resix. Yeah. What all changes did I make? I don't like having that. So let's get rid of this thing here. A repo to use C#. Okay, give me a second then. Can we still build? Because I'm pretty sure I didn't use that control. Although it would be cool to use that control because what I could, well, then again, that would make it harder to use input select. So never mind. Just kidding. Just kidding. What else did I change? I modified our services extension by cleaning it up. That's fine. That's not part of this thing. I added a file called JSInterop. And added logic for the collapse in main layout and moved the main layout C# code into the code behind, which is my peripherals when it gets speak. Added some things to UIState, and I'm assuming the interface. But none of this has to do with the work that we did with localization thus far. With localization. Okay, and the rest of those have nothing to do with localization anyway. So I'm going to switch to main, bring the changes with me, resolve the conflicts. Crap. There weren't supposed to be conflicts. What? Why are there conflicts? The most recent thing that I pushed was our localization thing. Anyway, let me take a look at this GitHub thing real quick to figure out what union is. One of doesn't say union. It's like a compile time checked switch statement. They're using terms that I just don't know. Can you break this down into language that I might understand? Feels like enums. Okay. So enums that get created at runtime. Compile time is what I said. So if this thing, you're either going to get, not either, you're going to get back a user or an invalid name or a name taken object. Oh. Why is that called a union? So this is more like TypeScript then. And I can understand why people would want this, but we already have it in C#. Kind of. I mean, we have generic, where you could have a user or an invalid name or name taken, provided they all match some kind of constraint. And that constraint checking, I think, makes it safer to use and easier to code against. But it seems like this would also work because the editor could say you're testing against user or invalid name in a switch statement. Except you're using match, which is a switch statement. So that's what this comment meant. So this looks to me like a switch expression where you're doing created result switch and then capital user arrows, capital invalid name, variable name, arrows. Okay. I can't say that I like it because I just think that it would introduce a lot more situations where it would be harder to manage. Maybe. I could be wrong, and I could end up loving it, but I'll definitely give it a try when it comes out. I'm not knocking it. I'll give it a try. I would just prefer something a little bit more. Well, okay, so the case that I can see this being beneficial for me, thinking about it from a web developer perspective where you're getting this information from an API. That sounds terrible. But it's breaking my brain. I can work with it. But I was going to say the situation that it would be beneficial for me is if I was going to return either bool this thing failed or here's the actual response that you get back of that specific object type. And in that case, the primitive, the bool that you're trying to return, does not follow the same implementation that your generic might, where the things that you can return is of type T, where T is constrained by being a class that implements blah or something. But yeah, Scott is saying I made a WPF and could get the event of mouse left button down. Interesting. What did I do different with my main window? Well, let me get this all moved over. Was there anything inside of you that didn't get moved? You know what? Whatever. We have source control. And I'm pretty sure that the only thing that this is complaining about is that main.layout. Main layout.razor doesn't have my code block anymore because I moved it to code behind. Index.razor is saying we have a select list that I've been using to test, which is true. I'm good with that. Oh, did I not? What's going on here? UIState. I don't know what's going on here. Give me this. I'm really confused why there are so many conflicts. Okay, unstage, please. Give me. Matter. Just give me all of it. Give me everyone's changes all the time. Gimme now. Okay, I already read that. Made a WPF app and could get the event to work. So I don't know why my main window wouldn't get that. Are you putting the mouse left button down in main window or an app? On the stage. Lola's rebuild. How do I stash on purpose? I'm gonna go like this. Let's check out a different branch. Stash. Oh, right. Yeah, so the issue with the Blazor WebView control, and let me see if I'm understanding you correctly once I get this thing able to build. Main window, mouse left button down, and then on mouse left button down. Yeah, so I guess I didn't assign or subscribe to the event that way before. Yeah. Yeah. And so the reason that it's working there is because anything that doesn't have a control on it would propagate through to the window, and maybe even the control itself. I don't know that for sure, but it propagates all the way back to the window. When you have a WebView 2 control, then that intercepts all of the events and it sits on top of everything. And so even this space between the title bar, like even if there was a very minuscule gap, if the Blazor WebView control is there, then it's going to intercept all of the UI interactions. Okay. Are you good? Uncommitted changes. Oh my goodness. I'll show you in the you're good, right? Remove magic strings. You're good. You're done. We can close you. We finished you on Friday. Oh, this is one of those. GitHub. Placed magic strings. Merged, closed. I even deleted the branch already, so we can delete our local branch, move to main. Now tell me. Repository up to date. No changes. Okay. Are you the current one where we added the WPF app? And all of these changes. Yep. Here's the WPF project. And that definitely means that this one is something else entirely. That's the WPF app as well. Why do I have two that are exactly the same? What? On my flippin' calendar, on my Zoom, it is there. I am unavailable currently. Help me. Help me. Okay, what are we doing? Where are we? Somebody help me. We are trying to pull in the WPF app changes. So pop unstaged. Here's the WPF app. There were no conflicts. And if I try to build, it breaks. What? There are conflicts. Oh boy. What are those B7i things in the HTML tags? Oh, these. Okay. So what you're looking at here was just a copy and paste of the rendered main page. So let's unstage. Okay, I want both. Yeah, let's just keep everything, and then we'll clean it up ourselves. Because I am tunnel visioned right now, and I have no idea what I'm doing. Select list, please. Okay, that one's fine. Couple more changes, and then I'll show you where that came from. Are you familiar with Blazor, Lasamat? These look the same. A little, yeah. Okay. And yes, of course you can, Denki Gang. Absolutely. Please feel free to ask any question you feel like it. And I'll do my best to answer if I know the answer. Ooh, thank you so much for the follow, Mr. Yan. We'll get this cleaned up. All right. So when you are using isolated CSS, What that means for us is that the CSS will only apply to the elements and components that the CSS is associated with. So in this case, let's look at main.razor. Main layout.razor is what I said. So main layout.razor has main layout.razor.scss, which eventually turns into regular CSS. So because the Razor engine, rendering engine, wants to keep track of who do I actually apply these styles to, the resulting style is actually some random ID attribute that Blazor gives you, such as in B1 blah, 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 blah. And if I can get the app to run, I'll prove that to you. Can we build? No. Good grief. I should not have gotten rid of the other one. I'll fix that. Active language is up there. Set language is there. Okay, so that should fix that situation. Yeah, you caught me in the middle of trying to switch back to my main branch. And that left me in a vulnerable state. Okay, and then active language already contains a definition for those. Good, good. We already have culture not found exception handled up there, same code. I just really don't understand why it was like these are conflicts when they're not. Okay, I might be able to prove it to you now. And I'll read out your thing, Denki King. Give me a couple minutes, pretty please. So we're going to run the app as Blazor WebAssembly by navigating to the WASM server folder, .NET Watch. So keep your eye on the pigeon or the penguin. I think that's a penguin. I want to keep staring at it. Hey, it ran. Okay, so with Blazor apps that use isolated CSS, we'll get this attribute added to controls so that when you're trying to set the styles for a control in an isolated way, it selects it by using this attribute. So all of that CSS that you saw I had associated directly with the control itself gets transpiled into a CSS that gets imported here called bundle.css, which if we look at it, double click on this thing, we'll see a whole bunch of these selectors that use those attributes that were added when it was building. So it pretty much modifies the, or not building, but rendering. It modifies the output. Ooh, thank you so much for the follow, Lasamat. It modifies the output so that they contain the attributes, and it modifies the CSS associated with those controls so that they target only those elements and anything inside of them. And so what I did was, in order for my Blazor app to look like it's immediately responsive, like you can interact with it right away, I rendered the main page, took the HTML that was rendered, copied it to my index.razor, which is the file that you were looking at when you asked me the question, why do you have all of those weird thingies in there, you con cheater? No, that's not what you said. So in index.html, all I did was just copy and paste the rendered HTML so that the page looks like it's loaded, even though it's still loading the Blazor WebAssembly runtime in the background and then the application after that, because this is all static content. With Blazor United, this is going to be even better because I'm going to have static content as my landing page, and then the rest of the app will be Blazor interactable. But yeah, so it's a facade is what happens. And you can tell it is because this login component is the only thing that I was thinking if I was going to do login. I haven't set that up or anything, but if I was going to do a login form, the user wouldn't be able to log into the app until Blazor loads, and you know Blazor loads when those two show up. Otherwise, it's static HTML that gets replaced with the actual application when it's done loading. But anyway, I think you understand that. So Danky Kang was asking, or stating and then asking, yes. I'm a little confused, so I don't really know how to explain it, but on the page, I have a form that when submitted hits redirect to action. After that, for some reason, it hits the action result index twice in the network tab. One was of type document and the other of type XHR. Would you know any potential causes? Yes. If you are watching, the first request will be a post. So if you're looking at the type, the request method, that should be a post. Maybe, now that I'm thinking of it, of type XHR sounds like you're calling it from JavaScript. So you might have some AJAX or fetch related things going on in your page so that it doesn't have to do a post back. But I would assume that one of them is a get, or one of them is a post, and then it's followed by a get at the same endpoint. Because MVC applications are fully server rendered, and the only way that you can do client rendering is by using JavaScript. Does that ring a bell? Oh, and ChatGPT told me AJAX call is probably the XHR request that's causing a full page refresh. Yes, that does hint me to a thing. And here's the solution. Yeah, Windows proc. So I'm trying not to use the Windows API if I can get away with it. But this is this is hooking into all of the Windows process messages. That's really hard for me to remember. And then I have to know, like this variable here, you have it set up here, but I would want to use something like native Windows helper, I think it's called. And then just get all of them, which I kind of already have. It's just, I would very, very much prefer. But I will take this. I think we might already be hooked into WinProc. But if we're not, then I don't want to use this. If we are, I may as well go ahead and use it. It's kind of like, you know, am I going to use jQuery for this one functionality versus are we already using jQuery? I'll go ahead and use that one functionality. Yeah. So I'll go with that. I wish this was text, but that's fine. It's WM_enter. Where is app? WM enter size move is what I'll be looking for. And that is 0x0231. And he put it in a code share. Awesome. Okay, I'll check if one is get and one is post. Definitely check that. But for your submit button, also check to see, are you using HTML helpers / tag helpers, and if so, are they calling JavaScript, or is it one of the Ajax HTML helpers? That's like a Ajax form. I can't remember. It's been so long since I've done MVC. But there is a control, or not a control, HTML tag helper. That's specifically for doing Ajax calls, so that only that portion of the page refreshes instead of the entire page. Okay, where are we? Peru. We have our VPF, our WPF app, set as startup project. Okay, stop running, F5. And for those of you that are new here, the thing that we've been doing on the stream is working on a financial management tracking application. And what this application is for is personal use for the most part. But I currently have an Access database. Oh, crap. Move. I currently have an Access database that I'm using to track my own finances. So all of my spending and when I get a paycheck, and yeah, just how much money is in each of my accounts. And I'm a Blazor web developer. Well, I guess I'm now a full stack everything developer, because we can do cross-platform. I use Blazor a lot. I've done a lot of web development, and I was like, why not have my app finally be a web app? I'm already using SQL Server as my data store, so why not just create a web app? I used to be able to stream my actual work from my previous job, and so this stream was all about Blazor web development in a professional environment where I was doing a work product, and you guys were able to participate in me doing a work product and seeing how a solo dev operates beginning to end as a for real job. But then I got hired by a consulting company, and I work for a client that I cannot give much information about. I can't do much with the actual software that I'm writing for them, can't show it. And so I'm like, I still want to do Blazor development on this stream, so let's just pick a project and work on it. And so we started this project over 100 days ago, 100 streams ago, and we came up with, I wanted it to be the whole I wanted it to be the whole process of let's do design, let's do all of it. So you'll be able to see it on GitHub. My bot isn't here, so I'll have to use my bot. What? No, not GitHub. Project. You'll see it here, but this has the description of what I just told you, of what I was doing with the project. And then if you were interested, you could see the process that we took. And it's very informal, but you can see the process that we went through to create this project. So here's where we're actually coming up with the project ideas, what database, what technology, etc., etc. And then here's some database. Wait, is this really day one? This doesn't feel like day one. Here's some database design. Here's some UI design, etc., etc. So design. This is all of the idea of, project structure first. And it was just to try to, keep us using good programming practices even as a solo developer. Disfortunately, I kind of went away from one of the things that I really wanted to stick to, because it was using a lot of time that I didn't want to use. And we did prove that we had some passing tests and we knew how to mock everything. So for example, our transaction data entry processes, I have unit tests for all of those. We wrote the test first, and then we wrote the methods to get it to work so that the test passed. But I've since dropped doing a lot of the testing because I kind of just want to burn through the rest of this project. And yeah, that's where we are. But it's still a fun project. And then I was using the last 4 streams, I think now, maybe 3, to also investigate some of the issues that have been coming up with using a Blazor WebView control in a WPF app, or even a Maui app, but my work product is a WPF app that uses a Blazor WebView control. And yeah, there are so many things that are not cool, man. They're just not cool. Okay, now that I have merged those changes, we can create a new branch. Oh, let's stop the app. A new branch for adding this WPF project. Add WPF project. Okay, cool. That's a good question. So one of the main issues that happens with the WPF WebView control, which you can see here on my main page, all I did was add a WPF WebView control, is that it will always be the topmost control, no matter what. You can't overlay any other, like if I had here stack panel, stack, whatever. I don't know WPF very well, but if I had something where I was trying to put another WPF control on top of the Blazor WebView, the Blazor WebView would always cover it up. Number 2, and this is always, or from what I understand, this has been a long-standing problem with WPF applications. I wanted the ability to control the background color of the title bar and the foreground color, and of course the icon still. I didn't want to lose that functionality, based off of a theme that was being selected within the application. The running application is the UI for the running application is Blazor. And so I have this way for the Blazor app to communicate with the WPF app. And so like here, if I chose 3, there would be a message sent to app.xaml that would update some properties used in a dictionary, in a resource dictionary, that say, change the colors to this theme. Or whatever logic I wanted to use to say, maybe change to a different style sheet.xaml. So anyway, long story short, changing the title bar background color on Windows 10 and before is not very easy to do without entirely ripping out the window Chrome. Without using window Chrome. And so I ended up using window Chrome, and as soon as you add window Chrome, wait, that's the Maui app. I was like, what? Why does that say something different? As soon as you add window Chrome, window Chrome dot window Chrome, and then window Chrome. I think I'm doing this right. I can't remember. And then you have properties like caption height equals 34, I think. We'll see this happen immediately, but the title bar is now gone. And then we recreate the window Chrome itself. So we now have a grid with grid row definitions, row definition of height, auto, journal entry, and then row definition height take up the rest of the space. The first one will be our title bar. The second one will be our Blazor WebView content, or just whatever content we want to put in the thing. Then we have, for the first one, a stack. It's called stack panel, right? That gets put in grid row 1. 0 is what I said. And then we get another stack panel. Can't put it in row definitions. I do this all the time. Thank you. And then this will be in, and actually we don't need to put it in a container because it is its own thing. But this will be grid row 1, and then this will have like a height of 34, let's say. And then just to have some content in here, how about a title? How about a text block with text that says some content, whatever. And then you would also redo the caption buttons. So here's where the fun stuff comes in. So now we have a title bar. We get our draggable area back, and then we do have the caption buttons over there. We just can't see them because I didn't create a visual element for them. But our resize area, instead of being inside of the window like it is without window Chrome, sorry, not inside, instead of being from the outer edge to 8 pixels, gosh, what am I trying to say? Outer edge to 8 pixels out. The border that we get, the resize border, moves into the window, and it gets covered up by the Blazor WebView control because nothing else can be on top of this. So we get a very, actually right now we get no, oh, that's right. That's because I was supposed to create a border. But anyway, we get no resize handles on the left or right by default, or bottom. So you have to do stuff like create a border instead of just doing this, which is fine, kind of works. So if I wrap this all in a border with a border thickness of like 1 pix, then we get a horizontal resize, but again, it's being covered by the Blazor WebView, so it's only 1 pixel of border resize. And so you're like, well, you could fix that by increasing the border of the Blazor WebView, or increasing the padding, or just something that will make the edges stick out more. And then when you change it to dark mode, then it looks terrible. And when you have a background that's supposed to go all the way flush to the edges, it looks terrible. Not border, margin. Margin. So then you get these big, thick, old style Windows margins. Yeah, even that. So we could have another grid that you're talking about. So let's surround this. And would you do it outside of the border, or would you do it? So remember, the border is the recreated window. So would you do it outside of the border? And I didn't read your comment before this that I wanted to read. WPF came out in 2006, so yeah, it's pretty outdated. I actually work with it at work. Haven't added Blazor yet though. It's really, really easy to add Blazor. You change the project SDK to .razor, and actually if you watch the recording from 3 streams ago, I did this entire process. I set up this WPF app super duper fast. But anyway, change it to .razor, add the WPF control reference, Microsoft.ASP.NET Core.Components.WebView.WPF, and in app.xaml, create a new services. If you don't already, I'm assuming that you already do. but create a new services collection, add Blazor Web View, and then if you're in debug, add the developer tools. And that should be all it takes to get your Blazor Web View control. And then adding the Blazor Web View control itself is from this namespace, you get a Blazor Web View control. And the docs are really, really easy to follow. But again, if you have Windows Chrome, then there are going to be other concerns, such as in the horizontal scroll, horizontal resize. The other thing I tried doing with this is adding non-client. Sorry, that goes here. Dude, do you even know how to anything? Non-client frame edges, bottom, left, right. And that does even more weird stuff because now we have, I mean, it helps a little. I have a bigger resize area, but now we have if I had dark mode, you might be able to see a little bit of it here though. We have a thin border that will always show up and I can't change the color of that either. And so I was struggling for a bunch of weeks just trying to figure out what combination of things can I do to make the top bar background color and foreground color match my application UI theme. And it was a lot, a lot. But yeah, I like your idea about having an empty left, right, and bottom. So if I was going to do that, it'd be like grid. What is it called? Column definitions. And I would have 3 columns of, and then I would actually set the size of those columns, most likely, right? The problem is I need these to be invisible. So I need everything to be pushed in by an invisible background margin. So if you have any ideas for that, that would be awesome. But yeah, there is the WPF app added. I'm just going to commit this. I don't care if I broke everything else. And ability to collapse. Oh yeah. This was another fun one that you may run into. If you have combo boxes in your UI and you convert your UI to Blazor. Oh, let's get rid of this margin too. Then something to consider. Main window. Is when you expand a combo box in your Blazor UI, the expanded part of it will stay in place when you move your window around. And there's also times when you move your window, expand it, and it will stay in the previous spot where the window was. I don't know why it's not doing that with this anymore, but I'm glad it's not. But while it's expanded, so we came up with, over the past few days, we came up with a solution that's pretty much when the window location changes, somehow get a message to the Blazor app that says, I'm moving, just to let you know. And so the Blazor app says, all right, I'm going to find any select lists that are expanded and collapse them. Because that's the behavior we would expect anyway from if you're in a web browser. Select or combo boxes will collapse when you move the window or when you resize the window or any of these things happen. And so right now in my work product, that is an existing bug. And now I have a workaround for it. We're just trying to find a better workaround. It's just, why does it have to be a workaround? Why can't it just be a thing that works as expected? I don't know. Expanded combo boxes. Okay. And because this is going to break everything anyway, I'm going to go ahead and merge it. Using our dev flow, which is I'll pick you guys as my reviewer, and it won't be really labeled with anything because actually, do I have a pull request? Not a pull request. Do I have a issue? I don't have an issue for this. I should have created an issue. Is there a reason you absolutely have to still use WebPath with Blazor? Yeah, so the client that I am working with is a major OEM, and this is software that ships with all of their PCs. And the original code was written in 1872, I want to say, and we're still carrying the majority of that code. The app was written with WPF, and the original thing that happened was it was written with just WPF, and then they moved it to WPF with Angular as the UI, and they're like, we want to use .NET across the board. And this is like right when Maui was releasing, and I'm like, I want to do this. And so they had me they gave me a redesigned user interface that I needed to implement. So I didn't come up with the design itself. I just wrote all of the UI. My strength is in writing Blazor UI, using Blazor to write UI, and brought it up really, really fast, put it together, and then they're like, start integrating this into the existing application. And that's when it all started to fall apart. I'm like, I did the thing that you guys told me to do, and now you're telling me to integrate it when I'm not even familiar with the application. And so, long story longer, it got messy because the original app is messy, and there's a whole bunch of legacy leftovers. Fix combo box expanded, not moving with window. That's what I'll call it. So anyway, you guys will do this review for me, all right? Here's all the files I touched. I moved the CS from, no, I just added code behind for app.razor, even though it's not used. Good job. Do you want to make a custom title bar with window Chrome? I already did. Yeah. So right now I have an extension, a class that extends window so that we can use it as our window for all of the WPF windows that still exist in the application that use window Chrome. And then every single one of those listens for my state class that's holding on to what the current theme is. And it says, if theme has changed, then I will update my Windows title bar property, title bar background color property, title bar foreground color property, the caption button colors, the caption hover colors. And is that it? Are those the only ones? Yeah, I think those are it. It's just title bar background and foreground, caption background and hover. Oh, and caption foreground colors. And caption buttons are the minimize, maximize, restore, close buttons, which also have a small issue of they don't immediately give me the hover background color. Like, it's almost like you have to move them. Like, you can't even just move it to it and then it eventually changes. You have to move over a very specific spot, and it's different for each button before it actually does the hover color. And it seems like that spot moves around. Initial load. You guys like that change, right? We got rid of unused usings. That's a good change. We added a select drop down just so that we can keep playing with that. It's good to have crap code like that. I mean, good code like that. Oh, right. It looks like we also moved the code block to the code behind file. We added JavaScript interop. Super Dukasoft interop. Dukasoft is a very valued member of our community, by the way, which is why you'll see his name in a few places. He's my mod. He is also a really good bot. That is not a bot. Main layout, we move the code block to the code behind. 27 days. 8 hours. That is a lot of time to be watching the stream, especially now that I'm only streaming 2 hours a day. I used to stream 6 hours every day, and now it's 2 hours on Monday, Wednesday, Friday. And that's it. Main layout.cs was the code moved back here. UIState got updated to add the logic for collapsing the select list. I added a carriage return in between. Wait a minute. Oh, I was like, this doesn't look good. I added a carriage return between the closing curly brace of my try catch block. Good job, you. Making the code readable for humans. How dare you? Added the actual JavaScript file. Put the Blazor web control in a grid. No reason, just did it. Added another carriage return. Removed unused using. And we told the Maui app to use a singleton for UIState because we found out something that's also really interesting. So if you're still listening, Lassama, you don't have to be. But if you happen to be listening, another gotcha with the WPF using Blazor. So the way that the Blazor control works is you're essentially loading a Chromium browser and you're loading your app into that Chromium browser, except that it's running on the full .NET runtime instead of like a Blazor WebAssembly runtime. So it's using real .NET and it's rendering on the machine and everything. However, the state for the Blazor application, the application context of the Blazor portion of it is different than the context of the main window. So what I was trying to do is use a scoped variable to share state between my Blazor UI and my WPF application. But it turns out that they're different scopes. So the Blazor application running inside of the Blazor WebView control is a different scope than the WPF application running out here as the window. And so be careful with that. You might need to end up changing some of the stuff that you would normally use as scoped in, say, a web project to singleton. And that's what I had to do with my state, for example. So normally you wouldn't have UIState as a singleton in a web project because that means everyone gets the same UIState and someone over here makes a change to that state. Someone over here sees it when it's running from a server. We don't want that. But since this is a desktop application, then that's why I went ahead and did it here. But only for UIState because that's the only one that I'm sharing between WPF and Blazor. WPF. Okay. Thank you for reminding me. We added the JavaScript interop reference. Yeah. I mean, I was excited to use it, and I do think it's production ready, but there are too many quirks that prevent it from being super customizable and easy to customize. Mostly the WPF window. So anything that you want to do with the WPF window is really hard. Yeah. Unless you're already familiar with hooking into WinProc and comfortable with doing that. And you know all of the codes. All of the codes. UIState. I just added some things to the interface so that we could collapse the select list. This file also needed it. And the reason that you see so many index.htmls, I'm gonna say that we did good. We did real good. The reason you see so many index.htmls is because I am writing one Blazor UI component library for the UI and one, not one. I can't. Money. Oh, I was trying to push review. I don't actually have a review gate, so you can't actually review. One Blazor UI component library, and then one for each one project for each application type. So I have a Maui project, I have a WPF project, Blazor server, Blazor WebAssembly with hosted backend, and they're all using the exact same UI. Most of them use the same set of services. All of them use the same server-side services for the server-side technologies, but then the front end, they have like 2 or 3 different ways to implement those service interfaces. Okay, so that is merged. I'm not going to screw this one up. We're going to go ahead and delete this branch, switch to main, do a get, and delete the local dev branch. What are these other 2? Oh, I actually have a branch that shows the WebU2 resize area issue. Nice. Good. Good for you. Are you actually still open? Why do you look like you have... You are. You're still in my remote. Thindle, you're late. You're late, Thindle. I work in the processing industry. We don't care about UI. I never had to worry about them. About themes, yeah. But yeah, since Thindle is here, let's go to this screen. That is going to conclude today's stream because I need to get back to work. So what I do, by the way, is I start my work day at 4:30 in the morning, take a break at 7:30 to do some exercise and some hygiene, come back to work at 8:30, and then stream at 10:30 for 2 hours, and then get back to work until the end of the day, whatever time that happens to be. But yeah. You needed some couch time. Definitely okay. I will set up a raid over to our good friend Simple. If he's still streaming, he is. Okay, I'm gonna unmute him. So I tried to raid Simple on Friday, and I misspelled his name. But this is Simple Game Dev. He is a Unity developer, and this time I see his actual profile picture. He's a Unity developer, which means that he does work with C# and stuff. But I just really enjoy watching his work. He is making and mostly made this game called Artificial. Definitely feel free to check it out on Steam. He has a demo for it, and he's even doing like events for his demo. Like right now he has a companion cube, like 5 or 6 of them hidden throughout the game, and he's giving away stuff for people that find the companion cube. And yeah, I don't know how it works, but good stuff. So feel free to hang out with me over there if you want. I'll just be listening quietly while I do my actual work, and I will try implementing Scott's recommendations regarding using WindowProc if I can see that we're already using it. Okay, enjoy the rest of your day. I'll be back on Wednesday, 10:30 a.m., which is now currently UTC -6 because time change happened for us. I'll have to figure out where that is, but that's going to be it for me for now. I'll just wave. Thanks for being here. Feel free to check out our Discord. We have really cool people hanging out. And Stream Elements is like, no, I want to say it. Okay, that's it. 10 seconds. Bye. Music. Camera. Mic.